Welcome back to the EVP podcast with 2/3 of your EVP team. I'm DVO.
And I'm Ghosty.
Where's Beaker?
He's Sick Boy Johnson.
He's on his deathbed. So he made a promise to us that if he does die, he'll come visit us and tell us what it's like on the other side. So that was his promise to us.
Yes.
He's got some type of, I don't know, some woman disease.
Or a UTI.
Some squatch disease.
He has squatch UTI.
Squatch UTI. I'm trying to what is it? Anyway, it's some type of tonsillitis.
No, some type of, just a really bad cold.
Tonsillitis.
Some type of squatch cold.
Yeah, so anyway, feel better, Beaker.
Yeah. We're rooting for you, bud.
We're rooting for you, buddy.
Hang in there.
Hang in there. Get that squatch to use their medicine woman to cure you.
Healing powers.
You're their healing powers. Anyway, we had a topic for kind of like the Halloween-ish season, but we're going to skip that. We're going to wait for Beaker to come back and do it together. So we have a special episode for you guys on this episode. But real quick, next episode, episode 84, is going to be, obviously these get released on Mondays. This year, Halloween is on a Monday. Episode 84 is going to be on a Monday. So for the next week, if you guys can send us any stories.
We have a few so far.
We've got a few. We got quite a few. Actually, I got a few more today. So we got some stories. We want to kind of set an ambiance. We're going to set the mood for next week.
So campfire storytelling.
Yeah, something like that. So we want your story. We'll give you a shout. Tell us your story. Tell us your name. Tell us where you're from. We'll give you a shout out as well. We want to give you guys a shout out. And anyway, I think it'll be fun. I think it'll be a fun episode on the Halloween special. I think it'll be a blast.
Always is a blast.
It always is a blast. And then while you're thinking about your stories, in the description, that's where you can find us. You can send us DMs, you can send us emails, whatever is easier for you. But while you're there, why not please hit subscribe, hit follow, whatever it is. We appreciate it. And in fact, if you're enjoying the podcast, we wouldn't mind some reviews. Helps us. If people are looking for paranormal podcasts, it helps us because it gets us out to the top of the list. And we would just appreciate it.
Yeah, no dick pics, please. We don't want any of those.
I mean, I'm not going to say no to them.
Okay, DVO wants them. Send them to his personal page. Slip your dick pics in his DMs.
No. My wife would not be happy with that.
Or would she?
I'm just saying if it's a squatch dick pic, then that's okay.
Unexplained.
Yeah, I want unexplained dick pics. Aliens, dog man, no humans. That's gross for me.
Only cryptids, please.
Only cryptids. So anyway, this episode though, we are doing something a little different. So because it is the Halloween season, we still want some creepy stories for you. So in case you guys maybe are new to the show or you're not very familiar with all of us, Ghosty and DVO are brothers.
Get out of here.
We're brothers.
Brothers.
Meaning we have the same parents, we grew up in the same house. However,
What?
Yeah, I know. However, our experiences in that house were different. Okay.
Very much so.
Yeah, very much so. And I was abused. He wasn't. He was a favorite. I was locked under the stairs.
Oh, this is so backwards.
So anyway, Ghosty had different experiences. We're gonna share that now. We talked about this briefly, but this was on episode 1 as we were kind of just giving kind of stories about who we are, why we got into the paranormal, why are we starting this podcast. So we kind of mentioned some of those stories, but again, that was episode 1. We're on episode 83. Okay, we've been trucking along, so things have changed.
A couple of years in,
so you might not remember the stories, or maybe you're kind of new to the podcast, so you didn't hear back on episode 1. So, and again, those are just very small tidbits because we did talk about how we would talk about it in full detail at one point. Finally, we're at that point. 83 episodes later, we're gonna talk about it. So we grew up in Midvale, Utah, and Beaker grew up in Sandy, Utah, one city over. Went to the same high school. We didn't know Beaker in high school, but he was in between our grades. So I was a senior, Beaker was a junior. You would have been a sophomore in the same high school, and we knew each other.
Yeah, we knew each other.
See in the halls. But anyway, let's go back. Let's talk about telling people what age or what's the earliest you can remember? Because it all happened in the same house, right? It wasn't before. We grew up in another house, but only for the first few years of our life. It was very brief.
Mm-hmm.
You were just a baby, and
Yeah.
not even quite a toddler.
What's crazy is when we moved into that house in Midvale, I was only 2 years old, and I remember that vividly.
I remember the walkthrough of the house.
Yeah,
and I was 4.
Yeah,
so
and I
we're
was 2 years old,
Yeah.
and I vividly remember that.
I remember the carpet. I remember the wallpaper.
I remember the people.
this.
I remember their faces.
So that's interesting.
I think that's like my furthest back memory, but that wasn't paranormal though.
Right.
But
we bought it from Ghosts.
But that house was not haunted. There was no deaths in that house. Our parents were
the third
owners, but
and they knew the previous owners.
The house wasn't old when they bought it either. It was kind of like passed on pretty soon. I think the house was maybe 10 years old, if that. Maybe not even 10 years old when they bought it, and yeah, it's nothing bad. It's happened there.
So if you know that's still a new house.
It was still a newer house, and then and things didn't start happening. I wouldn't say till 6 years old was the first thing, and I don't remember this. Our mom told me this.
Okay, what is that story?
So I was taking a poop.
Nice,
just like I should,
as we all should,
and I think so. I was in the upstairs hallway bathroom.
And were you in school at this point or no?
I don't remember.
Okay, it's fine.
But
so you're 6. You're upstairs in the there's
a bathroom in the hallway, of the living room. So I'm up there, and my mom ended up going downstairs. Our mother went somewhere else, and she heard me calling for her. And when she came up, I asked her why she shut the door or why she did something. And she goes, "Oh, it must have been the wind." And I told her,
in the house?
Yeah. Well, the windows were open.
Okay.
The windows were open. It could have caused a...
Sure.
And she was just trying to rationalize, like everyone else. You know, trying to not make your kid be scared.
Yeah, most people don't run to ghosts as the answer. Okay?
Yeah, like, you're not going to freak your kid out. As if your kid says that, and if the parent goes, "Oh my God," like freaking out. No one's going to do that. They're going to try to rationalize so you don't freak your kid out.
Right.
So she told me, yeah, it's probably just the wind. And I told her, well, no, the handle turned. So I don't remember this, but it was shortly after our grandpa died, her father. And he lived with us for a while.
Okay.
So it was shortly after he had passed and this had happened. So my mom, she kind of figured that's who it was.
Did she say that to you then? Or?
No, this was later in life. She told me this later. When our dad would ask, "Hey, Dale, tell those stories again of things that happened, blah, blah, blah."
So she still never accepted it until you had recalled
all these stories.
As an adult, all these stories. Okay, well, maybe that one time was
then she had told me that.
Your grandfather. Okay.
Well, she had told me that she thought that's what it was, but just tried not to ever think about it anymore. So that was probably the first.
And our mom grew up in the Philippines, and there's a ton of stories of hauntings and ghosts and things like that in the Philippines that our mother has told us growing up.
Yeah, so there's a lot of ghost stories there, and
so she's not new to the whole ghost.
She's not unfamiliar with the whole concept of spirits.
Yeah, in fact, she's had circumstances where she has seen her father as a spirit, and she has circumstances where she thinks soon after her brother passed away in the Philippines, here in the States, here in Utah, he visited her in a form of a different type of form. So,
but I want to say, when things started happening on a regular basis, like around that age, I remember always being, like, when I try to go to sleep at night, I would hear things in the room above mine. Yeah. And I would hear footsteps walking around up there a lot, because you could hear footsteps in that house. It's very creaky.
Right, yeah, it's creaky. You know, and this wouldn't, that last story is not going to be your last story about our grandfather either, our maternal grandfather. We'll get to those. Anyway, yeah, in that house, I can agree that yes, I would hear what sounded like footsteps, and I'd be home alone. And I would be, so both of our room, in fact, downstairs was 3 bedrooms. Our parents, me, and you.
Yeah, and this house was a rambler, so it's one, like it looks like a one level, but then there's a basement.
Yeah, and in the basement was 3 bedrooms. And so we each had our own room, and our parents had a room. And I'd be downstairs home alone in my room, and I thought somebody was home. You know, and that was a sure sign. You wouldn't always hear the door open, but you would start hearing people walking around, like, oh, people are home. And you go upstairs and check, hey, who's home now? And I'd be like, oh, hey, who's up there? And nobody would be up there. And I swear I heard footsteps. Now, again, like any house, there's creaking. You would hear that often. You would hear a stair possibly creak. the hallway would creak. It just, every house does this, right?
Yeah,
We can agree.
And all that.
Every house does this. So we accepted the fact that the house is settling, the house is moving, that expands and
creaks,
everything like that. Yeah,
wood. And
we always accepted that.
Yeah,
but there'd be times where, like you said, I thought I didn't have these experiences. That's why Ghosty's telling all these stories. But I didn't have these experiences. However, there would be times where I would hear. I thought somebody's home, walking from the kitchen down into one of the other bedrooms, one of the guest rooms, and down the hallway. I'm like, oh, somebody's home. Let me finish what I'm doing, and then I'll go upstairs and check who's home, and no one would be home. So yeah, go on.
So at night, I would hear these as a child, and it wasn't till, and I remember even telling my mom at night, I'd go in their room or tell them, and they would always just think I'm over imagining things. Well, anyways, I would say about 4th grade. Well, it was 4th grade, so I was about 10.
Okay.
And because I couldn't remember, I was doing my dinosaur report. That was the big thing in 4th grade. You had to do a dinosaur report. That was like your big. Do
you remember the
project.
dinosaur?
Iguanodon, because I copied you. So I'm doing my dinosaur report. Our mom had taken you to your orthodontist appointment because your mouth was all jacked up.
My mouth was jacked. I wore braces. So
you'd have these orthodontist appointments when she'd get off work. And you guys would be gone. I remember your appointments were always at like 4 or 5 o'clock.
After school, yeah.
And I wouldn't go because there was nothing for me to do there.
You'd be bored.
So I'd just stay home and do homework. So we had this dining area that's attached to the kitchen. And I would sit in there. And there's like 2 steps that go down from the kitchen level into the dining room. It's just 2 steps. Mm-hmm. And that's a big open dining room. And you have full view of the kitchen. And you can see into the living room.
Yeah. And
I'm sitting at the dining table doing my homework, and the footsteps that I would hear in the hallway, like at night, were super loud. So I'm sitting in the dining room, and I can hear these footsteps loudly in
the hallway.
Yeah, in the hallway of the living room. So through the kitchen into the living room down this hall. I cannot see down the hallway, but I can only see the entrance of the hall. So my dog also, we had a dog at the time, and he also heard these loud footsteps, and it freaked him out. He jumps up and he runs to the living room, and I'm watching him, and he's staring down the hallway.
Okay.
And he's vicious.
You can't see down the hallway.
I can't see down the hallway. I can only see him and see that he's facing down the hallway.
Yeah, 90 degrees from you.
Yep. And he's growling and barking at something. Whatever was making all that loud noise, his hair's standing up. And he's like vicious.
When you say loud noise, you're talking about loud footsteps?
Loud footsteps, like a loud stomping. Boom, like at least 2 or 3 loud ones that would actually, like the creaking, the thuds. And like it startled me, and it startled him enough to run over there. And he was seeing something. So he's barking at it, growling at it. And then all of a sudden he stops.
The hair on the back of his neck is raised up.
up.
Because I remember that would happen to him.
He stops and he runs to me and goes under my chair, and he's facing, now he's hiding under my chair, and he's crying, growling at the same time.
Facing the hallway.
Like he just got his ass scared.
Mm-hmm.
So now I'm scared.
Sure.
So
you're home alone.
I'm home alone, and I remember just grabbing the telephone, the home phone, and running out.
It was a cordless.
The cordless phone.
Cordless phone.
This is pull-out antenna.
This is the 80s, baby.
Mid-90s, maybe. No, early 90s. Early 90s.
Yeah. Cordless phone.
Yeah, those are new. And I remember just going out to the backyard and just calling my friends and just trying to talk to somebody. Calling somebody to talk because I was freaked out.
So you're just standing in the backyard?
Yeah, standing, just waiting. And then you guys get home, and I don't think I ever told our mom or you that day what had happened to me.
So you just hung out outside?
I just hung out in the backyard doing my homework until somebody came home, and I felt safe to go back inside the house. And after they go in, if everything's cool, I'm going in.
You're okay?
And so that was like the first big thing that happened to me.
All right.
And it was, after that, it was like more things would happen. Like I would hear more footsteps. I would have lights that would turn on.
When you say that lights would turn on, what do you mean? What lights?
Like my bedroom light.
So you would be in your room in the dark, and then the light would flip on?
I would be upstairs.
Okay. And
I would look down the stairs, and my light would be on.
Okay.
And I knew it was off before. I knew I had turned it off, and there would be no reason for it to be on.
Okay.
And I remember going down there, and when I turned it off, it would the light switch would be like halfway. And I'm like, it would be weird to me because I could never do that. I could never get it halfway.
Right.
And so it was always so weird how that would end up being halfway when it would, I don't know, it was weird. So it almost looked like, did I create this? Did I do this? But when I started realizing that it wasn't me doing that, was I would get a sensation. I started picking up on these sensations that were like almost an electronic shock in the air. There was almost like a electricity in the air that I would feel. And I would hear almost like a buzzing in my ear. And as soon as I hear this buzzing,
we didn't live underneath.
No, I get this like
lines.
weird buzzing kind of frequency.
Okay.
I'd hear this frequency, and I would feel like an electronic charge in the air, and I knew something was going to happen. And I would just like look around and just wait, dreading it, you know?
Yeah.
And then usually I'd hear something would happen.
So like when you say you'd hear things, something would happen. What do you mean? You're talking about footsteps?
Yeah, footsteps,
light turning on,
knocks, or something coming from my. If I was downstairs, I'd hear something upstairs, or vice versa.
Okay.
And then one of the scariest things happened soon after all this. This was probably the most scary thing, and it was the same situation where you were at an appointment with our mom, our dad's at work, and I'm home doing homework.
Okay.
And well, actually, no, I was watching TV.
Okay.
And I'm sitting on the. I'm laying on the kitchen floor, and I'm laying down to where my elbow's on the floor, propping my head up.
Okay.
And the stairs that go down to the basement where our bedrooms are is right by my head.
Why are you like? People were wondering why are you laying on the kitchen floor?
Because we had a TV in the kitchen.
Okay.
So I said I was watching TV. I already said that. I'm watching TV, so I'm laying on the floor watching TV, and I had my head propped up on my arm, and so my head is in my palm, elbows on the ground, and my head is facing towards the stairs. And I get that electronic charge, and I kind of am feeling something, and then I hear the bottom step, boom. And I look down, and then you hear the creaking.
Was there a dog with us at this time?
Yeah.
This was
soon after. Like I said, this was soon after.
You and the dog are home alone.
Yeah, we're just there, and it's like 5:00 in the afternoon.
Okay.
Bright as hell outside, hot outside. And so, yeah, I know something's going to happen. I hear that footstep on the bottom step, and then the creaking as it releases.
As the pressure is released from the step.
As the pressure is coming off the step, and you hear that creaking as it releases.
Yeah.
Because as you live in a house, you hear the sounds you make as you walk through the house. You know the sounds.
Exactly.
So it was a loud footstep and the creaking coming up off of it. So I'm looking down the stairs now going, what the hell was that? And then the next step, boom, and then the creaking coming off. And now I'm like more alert and like goosebumps, like freaking out.
Yeah.
And then I hear, like it starts running up the stairs at me, and I freaked out.
Yeah.
So I jumped up, same thing, grabbed the phone, ran out the side door of our kitchen, and me and the dog. He wasn't reacting to this. I think it was happening so fast that I remember just grabbing the phone, and ran out the door. And I'm kind of freaked out now. Like this thing kind of came running at me, like it was charging me.
It was coming up the steps.
It was coming up the steps at me. Then it started running.
And you don't see anything.
I can't see it. I can't see shit. It's running at me. I'm freaking out. So now I go outside. I'm standing in the driveway, and I'm kind of like
side door exited
to the driveway. And now
carport, I should say.
I'm kind of like spinning. Like, what do I do? What do I do? What do I do? And I'm walking down the driveway to the front of the house. And now I'm in front of the house in the middle of the driveway. My back's turned to the house, and I hear a boom. The big bay window of the living room, just something hits it. And I look, I could see the glass vibrating violently. From being hit. And we had those long hanging blinds.
Yeah.
And those were waving. They were all waving. And it's all happening on the inside of the house. And I was the only one home. And now I'm outside the house. What the hell just did that?
Sure.
So I freak out again. And now I run towards the backyard. And we have an apricot tree. We had an apricot tree back there that I would always climb. Yeah. And I'm like, I need to get to the top of that tree.
So you're running down the driveway again.
So now I'm going up the driveway back to the backyard. And as I'm passing, we always had this kitchen window cracked open for our swamp cooler, really the air to get out. And with that gap in that window, I could hear in the house, and it sounded like the utensils getting dumped all over the place. Like I could hear utensils getting dumped.
So you hear it sounds like just like clanging of the silverware.
Yeah,
clanging together, dropping
like
on the
sliding,
counter.
like sliding and banging, and like I'm hearing all this crashing sounds in the house. And now I'm like, I'm gonna be in so much trouble. So I run up that tree, and I'm there for maybe an hour until I see our dad coming around the corner, and we lived on the corner, and we had a side gate. And I remember I didn't even want to go near the house. I went out the side gate and around the house, and I was trying to run to meet him. So I ran down the tree, running around the house, trying to meet him before he got to the door, going the longest way possible. And I get to him as he's opening the door. I'm like, before you go in there, it wasn't me, it wasn't me, it wasn't me. He's like, what?
So you're warning him, hey, you're going to walk in, there's going to be disaster.
Yeah, I'm like, whatever you see, I didn't do it. I was out here the whole time.
Because you're imagining there's going to be silverware.
I would imagine the kitchen
the cupboards
upside down.
open, everything spilled on the floor, on the counter.
That's exactly what I was expecting. And he opens the door and we look inside and everything's fine.
Interesting.
And I'm just like, I'm not crazy, Dad. I'm not crazy. I swear to God.
What was his reaction when you said this? Like, so you were telling him beforehand, if you walk in...
Well, he's already opening the door.
Okay.
I'm like, Dad, whatever you see, it wasn't me, I didn't do it. He's like, what? You didn't do what? I'm like, whatever you see inside, I didn't do it. And he's already opening the door.
Thinking this kid did something.
Yeah, so now he wants to see. And so he opens it and we both look and it's completely fine.
So what does he say? Like, what are you talking about?
He's like, what is the matter with you? And I'm just like, nothing.
Okay.
Nothing, some weird shit. Sorry. But it was hard because I remember trying to tell them stuff when things were happening, and they were always trying to be like, it's your imagination. It's this, that, and the other. So there was no believing me. There was nothing I could say that would be like getting them to want to hear it,
sure,
wanting to, because they would just want me to shut up about it. It's like,
and you're 10.
Yeah. So, like imaginations run crazy. Who knows? Yeah. So it wasn't something I could like talk to anybody about.
Right.
And then I remember, let's see, there was, what was some other good ones that happened? Oh, so I would always get these sensations of something watching me in two parts of the house.
Okay.
And I never understood why. But it made sense later because those were the two locations where things were happening. One being at that entrance of the hallway.
Okay.
I remember I would come home at night for, doing stuff and coming home at night, and I'd go down the stairs, and every time I go downstairs, I always could tell somebody's standing there watching me.
Okay.
They're just watching me come in and walk down the stairs. It always freaked me out because I knew somebody's there. And then at the bottom of the stairs, from my bedroom to the bathroom, being 3 steps away, there was always somebody right there at the bottom of the stairs watching that happen. Like every time I walk, I would always have that sensation of somebody watching. And I never understood why, but it made sense later after thinking about things, especially this next story where I just had gotten out of the shower.
Okay.
This is, again, evening time, sun's still out. You and our mom are home. And for whatever reason, I needed to take a shower first, and then we were going to go to the grocery store with our mom. And
you were stinky all the time, so
who knows? This is a little jungle boy. So after I get out of the shower, I am about to get dressed. You and our mom are outside doing something in the backyard waiting for me. And I just have a towel on. And our dressers, our mom got us the dressers with the mirror on them. And as I'm turning, I still have my towel on, and I'm turning and I look at the mirror and I look at myself, but I could see behind me and I see my doorway entrance. And in my doorway entrance, there's an old lady grabbing my door frame with her head peeking inside.
Wow.
And I see her hands and I see her head. And her head, it was an old white lady with a white afro.
Okay.
And she's just looking at me.
Does she have like an evil face? Like
No.
she looks like a grandma?
She just looked like a grandma.
Okay.
There wasn't anything sinister to her face.
Okay.
Nothing bad. It was just looked like some old lady. But she had her hands in the doorframe and had her head in my room looking at me.
Hey, young whippersnapper, let's see this.
And I turn around, I'm like...
How old do you think you were at this point?
Around the same age,
okay.
10, 11.
Okay.
I might have been a little older at this point, so maybe 11 might have been the next year. So I turn around, there's nothing in my doorway, but I know exactly what I saw. It was vivid. And I just know that I have to go through that damn door to get out of my room.
Uh-huh.
I was trying to rationalize how to get out of my window with our
small
rooms,
windows.
they were in the basement, and so our windows were maybe like 12 inches, not even that, maybe 8 inches tall by, I don't know,
18 inches
18
wide.
inches wide, yeah, something like that. It was impossible to squeeze through that thing. I was trying to rationalize how to make that happen, because I was like, how do I get through that damn door?
And there's no cell phone for you to call somebody.
No. So I just remember like making this leap where I was like, I'm grabbing whatever clothes I can, whatever I'm grabbing, I'm taking with me. I broke the hangers. I just ripped it off and ran up the stairs. And I remember getting dressed. I'm still wet. And I'm getting dressed at the top of the stairs. And I run outside to you guys. I'm like, hey, you guys ready to go to the store? Let's go to the store. I'm all ready to go. I think my mom was like, why don't you dry your hair first?
Yeah, it's good. It's a hot, sunny day.
It's nice out here. Let's get out of here, right?
Oh, that's funny.
So that one was a scary one.
Yeah, especially not expecting to see an older lady looking at you,
right?
Coming out of the shower.
I've had where there's 2 separate occasions where I've experienced what they call sleep paralysis, but the difference in my situations were I was never asleep yet, nor had I even tried to fall asleep yet.
Okay.
Still wide awake. The first time I remember I'm laying in bed and I just turned off the TV and I turned to face my wall, and the wall was kind of shining green from the VCR light.
Okay.
The VCR light that I had at the time
Uh-huh.
left that green hue in the room.
Right.
So I can see that reflection all over my wall.
Uh-huh.
And then all of a sudden I remember getting like it blackened. And so this just happened. I just barely turned everything off. I just turn over and I'm looking at the wall still. And all of a sudden it just starts getting darker.
Okay.
And I kind of lay on my back and I kind of turn and I freeze. Something's there. And it's like, just like this darkness right there.
Mm-hmm.
And I get overwhelmed with like this crazy amount of fear. I'm like terrified, but I can't move and I can't breathe. I can't talk. I'm just like frozen. And I remember hearing stories about other friends that had mentioned something like this, like older cousins or whatever. And they had mentioned something like this before.
Like a sleep paralysis.
Yeah, but not the actual term or anything like
Yeah.
that. They just kind of mentioned what things had happened to them. And I remember, and I started like thinking about that. I'm like, holy shit, I'm experiencing that right now. And I remember trying to yell and I couldn't yell. Nothing was coming out. And then something happened where finally a squeak came out. The moment I was able to squeak out a noise, it lightened up in my room, like instantly.
Oh.
And all of a sudden I could breathe. I was like, what was that? That was intense.
Yeah.
And then I want to say maybe a couple years after that, I experienced it again, except this time, same type of situation. Maybe it wasn't 2 years, maybe it's like a year later. Turned off everything and I put the remote control down and I'm about to grab the covers and pull them up. As I looked down to grab the covers, it looked like there was like a black cat that curled up on my chest laying on me. And the moment I looked down and saw that, boom, it hit me again. And I'm like frozen, terrified, can't breathe, can't move, can't talk. And I had to do this exact same thing. I'm like trying to yell. And then finally, squeak comes out. The moment it does, that dark thing that was curled up there is not there anymore.
Wow.
It was just such a weird thing. And it's never happened again since then.
Did you have another situation where, was there another possible sleep paralysis where something jumped on you and left?
And that could have been a dream. Like I'm still trying to rationalize that as a dream, just because I do remember something where I woke up to something holding me down and then waking up and having like handprints there, but I don't know if I did that, if I was holding myself, you know?
Okay.
So with it being at a time where I wasn't like really trying to debunk much, I'm going to say that could...
Well, tell the story anyway, just as a possibility.
Yeah, so it was more of a possibility that it was more of that type of situation, but it was a dream. And I was sleeping at that. So that could have been a nightmare, and that could have been me doing that. But yeah, it's the same type of situation where seeing like an old lady looking all crazy mean and jumping and holding you down. And then waking up, like pushing it off and waking up. And then kind of like, that was crazy. And I remember like, I think I got up to go to the bathroom and I came back in my room and saw the light, like I had handprints here. But it could have been
Like on your shoulders, on your chest.
Yeah, like right here on front of my shoulders. But I mean, it could have been me doing that, just pressing, and like in the nightmare or in the dream. So trying to rationalize that. I didn't really like try to measure anything either. I was just more just kind of freaked out.
You're young.
Yeah. So and then I do remember seeing our grandpa. So another story was watching the TV in that kitchen, and you and I were both in there watching TV this time. And I was sitting on just right in front of the TV, so just flat. You were sitting to my left on the 2 steps that go down into the dining room. Mm-hmm. So you're kind of behind me in my peripheral vision, and you had got up and walked around me and then walked down to the basement to our parents' room. I seen you do it. I knew you did it, but after some time had happened, I could still see you in my peripheral, so I thought you were there. So I'm still watching TV, and something funny happened. I laugh. I don't hear you laugh, so I turn to see why you're not laughing, and then it's my grandpa. It's our grandpa, our mom's dad. But it's a silhouette, and
so like of clothes, of blackness. What do you mean? Do you remember?
So it's black silhouette, like a shadow person.
Okay.
But not like a normal shadow person, because a shadow person is just a shadow, like just that dark color. This was more like I could see through it, but it was like snowy, like the Channel 3. Like if you were to watch like the Channel 3 when you're back in the day.
Yeah, this is the 90s, baby.
Yeah, 90s. when you would run your VCR, you'd have to put it on Channel 3.
Yeah.
Because that's the channel that didn't exist, and it's all snow.
Yeah.
So it was like that. It was like snowy. It was like that snowy, staticky, and inside of that silhouette. But it was more dark. It wasn't like white, a lot of whiteness. It was more dark.
Okay.
But I could see through it. And it was like, when I turned and looked at him, he turned and looked at me. No features, just all silhouette. But I knew exactly who it was. But it happened so fast that we made connection, and I instantly knew who it was. And he didn't like slowly disappear. It was just blink of an eye gone. Like I blinked and it was gone.
So you're looking at it straight on, and it looks black and white, snowy, staticky.
Yeah, and so when I turned and looked at him, he actually wasn't looking at me. He was sitting on the stairs, actually facing the window. Like he wasn't looking at the TV. He was
look the other direction.
Yeah, looking off to the side. But when I turned and looked at him, he turned his head and looked at me, and then we made that connection, and he was gone.
And when you say I knew who it was, even though you couldn't see features, how is that?
The silhouette.
Okay.
The silhouette. Like if I instantly knew the shape of his head, his face,
his
like
hair.
I could see his profile. I knew it was him, and it was a mental connection maybe also, but I instantly knew who it was, and I knew it wasn't there for any harm. But it scared the shit out of me.
Sure, yeah.
So I remember booking it downstairs, and you guys were all on our parents and you were all on the bed. And I remember jumping on the bed, and I told everybody what just happened to me. And you guys, I remember, seemed intrigued and asked questions, but at the same time, were just making fun of me for like thinking I'm crazy or my imagination's going wild. And I'm like trying to tell you guys how excited I was about seeing this just now, and not getting the reaction of like, wow, that's incredible. More like, okay, goofball, get out of here. Yeah. So again, it was hard to talk about these things. And it was just wild because I was scared, and it was a lot happening. And then later on, a lot of things would go on, just small stuff. A lot of small stuff would happen. Uh-huh. We'd get, like I said, lights and footsteps and stuff like that. And then one time, actually, before I get to that, we had water beds also during this time. And at night, I would get that sensation, something's about to happen. And then waiting around, what is it? What's going to happen? Something would sit on my damn bed, at the foot of my bed, and the water would plop. And get the ripples of the waves, and I'd start rocking in my bed going, just get out of here, get out of here.
Did you ever say that out loud, like, get out of here?
Yeah.
Okay.
And, I would just wait for it to go away, or to the bed to stop moving. Sometimes I would feel it get off. Sometimes I wouldn't. Sometimes it just kind of disappeared. It happened, probably only happened maybe a handful of times.
Okay.
And then there was one night where I was in my room watching TV, and you were home and our cousin was home. And I've talked about this one before, where this cloud came out from under my bed.
So you're laying on your bed?
I'm not laying on my bed. I'm sitting sideways on my bed. I'm sitting like cross-legged, sideways, parallel on my bed. I'm facing the side of my bed because that's where the TV was. The TV was off to the side of my room. So my bed faced one way, the TV faced the side of my bed. So I'm sitting sideways on my bed, cross-legged. As I'm sitting there, we don't have an under the bed because it's wood that goes straight to the ground.
Yeah.
Well, this thing comes from under my bed, and it's like a cloud that comes out and forms right in front of my face.
Color?
And this is white, but that same snowy, but this one was
staticky looking.
That staticky looking snowy channel 3, but this one was more white than the other one. Like I said, the other one was black of our grandpa. This one was white, and this one formed more of like a cloud where it was kind of like, the top came out like pointed a little bit and then kind of got wide, kind of like a cotton candy.
Okay.
Kind of like a cotton candy, but a little wider in the middle.
Okay.
And then more tapered down to the bottom.
Okay.
And it was just floating it just stayed there. It just stayed right there. It came and formed and it stayed. And I kind of came down the foot of my bed a little bit, and it seemed like it was kind of turning and following me. And I was calling you into my bedroom. I was calling our cousin to come in here. Look at what I'm seeing. You guys need to come in here. You refused. You were talking on the phone. You did not want to come in my room. It was a cordless phone, you son of a bitch. Come in here.
Talking to girls.
Either way, like you could talk to them and come in my room. And
yeah, but I don't know what you're seeing, right? And you're just the annoying little brother. And
our cousin is upstairs. I can hear him in the kitchen making food. I'm telling him, come down here and look at this. He's like, no, you come up here and look at this. I was like, oh my God, you guys. And so I remember sliding down the foot of my bed, and this thing is following me. Not like coming down.
Did it look tangible? Like did it look like you could touch it if you wanted to?
It looked like I could touch it.
Okay. But you didn't want to?
No, I didn't want to. It didn't look like I could actually grab it because I could see through it. So I felt like I could probably put my hand in it, but not really grab anything. But so this thing, as I go down to the foot of my bed, and I'm getting off the bed, it looks like it's rotating. It's not floating away towards me or anything. It's staying put, but rotating almost.
Like it's almost like it's a face following you as you move.
Yeah. Like it's just kind of turning and following, like watching me. So I go upstairs. I'm telling my cousin, I go in your room and you're just being a bitch on the phone. I'm like, yeah. So I went upstairs, and then I'm telling my cousin exactly what I'm seeing. And so now he wants to go look. So we run down the stairs and it's gone. And I was just so frustrated. Like, we
can tell. If anyone's listening or watching, they can tell.
The frustration was still. Yeah, I still am. Because it was like, this was legit. Anybody could see this with your eyes. You just need to.
What do you think?
Who knows?
Yeah.
But I would have figured if I'm seeing this with my eyes, you guys should be able to see this. And if we have all of us seeing this, this is going to be an amazing story. Because now it's not just me saying bullshit to you guys. It's actually you witnessed something. And I was trying to get that to happen, and nobody wanted to participate. So that one slipped through.
Or it's more of a testament of knowing of a little kid you were. You were tired of your shit.
But so that one was super, like, almost had witnesses to see something with me on that one. And then let's see, another good one was the first time I actually felt a spirit touch me, and this happened so like our grandfather on our dad's side moved in with us later, and I want to say I was about 13 or 14 at this age. And when the moment he moved in with us, everything stopped. That was so weird because, and when I've spoken to other mediums, they've told me like I somehow turned off a switch.
Okay.
But I wonder if him moving in kind of helped that. I don't know. But it almost seemed like the moment he moved in was with us is when everything shut off. And it wasn't till later, I want to say I was maybe like 18 or 19 at this time. I was walking out of your old bedroom, which was now like the computer was in there and a futon TV and stuff was in there. I was in there doing something on the computer, and I just got off and I was walking out of that room as our mom was walking out of her room, and we're meeting each other in that little landing at the bottom of the stairs. And as I'm walking out of that room, my shoulder flies forward. I feel a finger poke my back of my shoulder and push me. And it just like kind of poked me and pushed me forward. And just my shoulder kind of rolled. And I was like, what? I'm like, Mom, did you see that? Did you see my... And she's like, yeah. I'm like, I didn't do that. So she's like, what? And I just was like, that was weird. This is what I just felt. And, you know, that was the first time I actually felt a touch. But it was awkward. It was very awkward. And then there was a time I had already moved out of the house and you were still living there, but you were now living in a room upstairs, and it was the room above my old bedroom. And I would come over there a lot.
At the end of the hall, the creepy hallway.
Yeah. And I remember going I went in your room. I was hanging out over there one night. We were going to go do something. And I was in your room, and I had to leave your room to go into the kitchen for something. And as I left your room and was walking through the hallway, I could feel there was something trying to stop me. There was something like a mass in the hallway. And I remember walking into it, and it was heavy. It was thick, and I had to actually force my way through it. It was almost weird. And it was like, as I'm walking, I'm like kind of pushing my way through it. And then I came out of it, and it was like light again. Like the thickness was gone, and it was like all this, whatever, the pressure was gone. It was so strange. And again, yeah, right there in that hallway.
Interesting.
Trying to think of some other good ones that happened. It's been a while since I've told some of these stories.
And while you think about that, I'll tell our mom and her stories of her father. She was outside in our backyard, and she was just doing some gardening out in the back, and the neighbors, they were also a little elderly, and she heard one of the neighbors kind of walking up along. We had in the backyard that separated our house and the neighbor's house, which is a little brick wall. It's probably about 3 feet tall, 3 or 4 feet tall, not very big. You can see our neighbors, they could see us. We'd say hi all the time, very friendly with each other. And there was a time where he walked up, and she kind of saw, she could hear, he kind of shuffled his feet. Again, he was elderly at this time, and he kind of shuffled his feet, didn't talk much. And he shuffled his feet, and so she heard him, kind of saw his shadow coming up, and she looked up to, say hi to him. Even though it was his outfit, it was our neighbor, it was him, it was his outfit and everything, but his face was her father, our grandfather, and that was his face, and she kind of was just in shock, and then it just kind of went away, and it was our neighbor again. So she had that experience in the backyard. And then another time in the backyard, it was the day of or the day after her brother passed away in the Philippines.
So he passed that night, and it was that next day she was kind of in mourning. And that's when it was like a bubble. Yeah, somebody was blowing bubbles. They said it was just like a regular bubble, but it came from across the house, over the house. They're in the backyard, so it came from some corner over the house, and it floated all the way to them. And they said it kind of floated.
But it was those bubbles. It wasn't like liquid soap bubbles. It was those plasticky bubbles. I don't know if you remember those. These were really crappy toys that I'm trying to explain to people here. It was a really crappy toy. It was like you got like a little straw.
No. I know what you're talking about, but no, they didn't say it was like that consistency. They didn't say.
My dad said it was you get like a little plastic straw, and you got this little waxy stuff. Yeah, and you put it at the end of the straw, and you blew into it. It would form a bubble, and that's the kind of texture that it was. And because our father was with our mom in the backyard, and just kind of floated over, and they were outside for many hours, and there was no kids around or anything like that, and it was floating, right? Came floated, and it kind of stopped right in front of our mom, and then she reached out and touched it and popped.
No, that's not what happened.
Is that what happened?
No. So
calm down, jeez.
So this bubble, and it did not have that. They said it was just just a normal, what you would see from someone blowing bubbles, and they were just in shock because where it came from, no bubbles last that long in the air. And so, yeah, they said it came down right in front of our mom's face and kind of sat there for a second. And then after it was there in her face, it just stayed kind of still for a little bit. And then it floated over to where our dad was sitting, and him and our uncle was kind of sitting on this swing. And it floated over to them, and he swatted at it. and it just kind of floated upwards away, so we couldn't swat it, and then went over that fence into the neighbor's yard and slowly lowered to the grass, and then didn't pop, but it just shrank down to nothing.
Oh, okay. So, okay, they swatted it. I thought they...
Yeah, so our dad swatted at it when it came towards him, and it floated away, so he couldn't swat it, and then drifted over to the neighbor's yard, settled late, just slowly settled onto the grass, and then slowly just shrunk down to nothing.
But didn't pop.
But did not pop.
On the grass blades.
Right.
Yeah, pretty interesting.
I couldn't think of anything off the top of my head.
So why do you think, out of the 4 of us in the house, me, you, and our parents, why were you the one that was seeing, feeling, whatever, these situations?
I was probably more open, accepting to that other realm, knowing that there were spirits, or I could feel things. Maybe the spirits knew I was able to acknowledge them, and so they were probably coming to me to ask me things, or they could have just been, spirits just kind of wander into houses. Some people have attachments or whatever. They probably were attached to that house in a certain way, or attached to us in a certain way. But whatever spirits were there, they were trying to somehow get me to interact with them, or something. Okay, I just remembered something that would happen.
Okay.
This was one of the things that freaked me out a lot. In the mornings, you were in middle school, I'm still in elementary school, our parents left for work already. So our parents would leave for work, then followed by you would leave for middle school to catch the bus. And then I probably was home for another 20-25 minutes before I walked to school. So during that 20 minutes, I've already finished my breakfast, and now I'm just watching TV in the kitchen until it's time to walk. And we had every Filipino house has these chandeliers made of the inner lining of abalone shells or some kind of clam shell, where it's like that, almost a transparent, and then it's wired into a circle, and it's all strung up in the chandelier. Anyways, we had that hanging above our staircase. Every morning, okay, not every morning, but many mornings, after you guys would all leave, and I was by myself, this would never happen. This never happened in all the existence of living in that house, because there's no airflow that hits near the chandelier.
Right, that's true.
And as soon as you guys would be gone, it would vibrate. It wouldn't shake like wind was blowing on it or air was blowing. It would vibrate.
It's like the whole chandelier.
Like the whole chandelier is just shaking. And I would freak out.
This was probably 3 feet long, maybe?
Longer than that.
It'd hang down from the ceiling. It'd hang down 3...
Maybe 3.5 to 4 feet. It's tall. So this whole thing would just start vibrating. And it only would happen... This was and I remember the first time it happened, I freaked out, turned off the TV, and went to school early. And then I remember coming home that day, and I couldn't stop thinking about it. And it was trying to figure out what would cause that to shake. I'm looking for airflow. I'm like, this has never happened in my whole life. I've never seen this thing move before. And I was trying to figure out, I could never find it. And I'm probably a few days later, does it again. I freak out. I go to school early. And back then, the only thing to watch on paranormal was, Unsolved Mysteries would have an episode here and there that had something. Sightings was mostly UFO, but there sometimes would be something ghosts about there. Can't remember another show that was funny.
Yeah, I don't remember many. Yeah,
there wasn't many shows to watch that had anything paranormal. So whatever I did watch one day had these ghost hunters on there, and they talked about yelling at them to leave you alone.
Okay.
And so I'm like, I'm gonna give that a try. And so one morning it's happening, and I yelled at it, and I'm like, leave me the F alone. And it completely stopped.
So it didn't slow down to a stop?
It did not slow down to a stop. It just
stopped.
Came to a complete halt. Instantly. The moment I yelled at it. Boom. And then...
Interesting.
I still got freaked out, and I left early anyways. But it didn't happen again. It never happened again since then.
What do you think that is? What do you think the old lady was that was creeping around the room? What do you think? Who do you think's shaking the chandelier? Who punched the window? Do you think they were all different beings?
Yes. I think there was
passing through?
5 spirits in the house, and they all had their own place. and and amongst them, I had seen some shadow people. I saw shadow people there as well. But I think there was 5 spirits that stay there on a constant basis, but not that they're haunting anything. And I wonder if the one that was running at me was more trying to get my attention and then frustrated that I'm running away from it instead of trying to help it. But at the same time, it could have just been something purposely trying to scare me. Knowing that I could see it, or knowing that I could hear it, knowing that I was acknowledging it, and then just maybe got a kick out of it.
So our parents still live there. They've had no experiences, besides the one I just said about our mom. No experiences there. They've heard your stories. And, you know, we still go back there for holidays or just for family gatherings. What do you feel anything there? Do you still get the vibe, that staticky feeling to you? Do you think there's anything still there hanging out?
Yeah, they're still there.
The same ones?
The same ones, and they're not necessarily, mainly the two presents at the bottom of the stairs in the hallway still there. But they're not there constantly. It's more...
They go visit the neighbors
quiet.
once in a while.
It's quiet. I don't know if they just disappear and just reappear when it's quiet and nobody's around. But it is just pretty much those 2 spots. There is still some of that hangs out there, but not that it's bad or not that they're trying to get attention either. It's just they're still there. I can feel things staring still.
So I've, you know, besides the times where I'd be home alone, I would think I heard somebody upstairs walking around, and maybe someone was walking around, just they weren't alive. There's only been one other circumstance there at the house that I don't know what it was. I think I mentioned it before in a previous episode, maybe on that first episode, but I'll mention it again here. This was a time, that financial housing crash of 2008, 2009, 2010, it actually affected both of us. We were both living separately in our own homes. And we both got foreclosed on, so we both moved back to our parents' house within like weeks of each other. And there was a day where I was home alone. So our parents went to work. They worked I think they left like at 5 or 6 in the morning to go to work. And I think you went to work at the same time, maybe, right? And I didn't work until around like 11 in the afternoon. So I believe I was around 9 a.m. I woke up and I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna take a shower. So again, I'm home alone. I go in the shower in the bathroom that's downstairs, and I close the door, but I don't close it all the way because I'm thinking I'm home alone. So I don't close it all the way. I don't close it shut. I just kind of close it so where the door just touches the frame. Really, I'm taking a shower, and I hear 3 knocks, and instinctively I just say yes. I'm like yes. Come in, go ahead. I'm in the shower. I'm decent, you know, and you're not gonna walk in on me naked. Like, yes. And then it kind of hits me, wait, I'm home alone. There shouldn't be a knock at the door of the bathroom. There shouldn't be a knock at the bathroom door. So I hit the water, I run out of the bathroom. I'm also soaking wet. I run out to the outside of the bathroom door is my bedroom door, where I'm staying. And I grab in my sock drawer, I pull out my gun. I'm thinking somebody's in my house. I'm thinking somebody's in the house now, and they're probably robbing us. Because we've been robbed before at that house. Okay, not when we were there, while we were all gone, the house has been robbed. So I'm thinking somebody's trying to rob the house. I grab my gun, I cock it, I run up the stairs, butt naked, dripping wet, and I run around the house looking if there's anyone in the house. No one's in the house, and I'm starting to think like, did somebody knock on the window? Maybe I thought they knocked on the door, but maybe they knocked on the window. Again, this is the basement, so the window's only 8 inches by like 18 inches, very small window. So I thought maybe somebody's in the backyard knocking on the window. The house is surrounded with windows. We have a lot of windows in this house, so I can, while I'm upstairs, this is like 10 a.m. I can look out all the windows, and no one's running around the backyard. No one's running down the street. No one's running around. So I don't know. You know, did they think I was you? Did they try to get my attention? Were they just trying to play a joke? Was somebody outside? I don't know. But it sounded like somebody knocked on the bathroom door loud. Like I thought somebody was at the door. I thought maybe you were outside. Like, hey, I want to grab something from the bathroom. But then I'm like, wait, I'm home alone.
So during this whole time, like you just mentioned, we just got foreclosed on. I also had gone through my first divorce.
Yeah.
So I had a shit ton of stress going on. Like my stress levels were through the roof. And as this was happening, it was like that switch that turned off turned back on.
What do you mean switch? Explain when you say switch.
Remember that switch where everything just stopped. I stopped experiencing shit.
Mm-hmm.
It was like all of a sudden that turned back on, and I was experiencing things on a constant basis. It was weird. Like what had started with, I would be at work or I'd be anywhere really. Mainly I would notice it. I started noticing it at work, where I'd be busy doing something, and in my peripheral vision, somebody's walking towards me. And I'm waiting till they get to a certain point to know that, okay, they're walking towards me. They must want me for something. I look up and nobody's there. Like, what the shit? I saw them. And then it happened. It would happen multiple times, and it was getting frustrating. And so soon after that, I'm driving on the freeway. I'm taking my daughter to her mom's house. And it was like early morning, cold morning. And her and my ex's other son, I'm taking them to their mom, and I'm on the freeway. It's early morning, and I'm making this where the freeway kind of bends a little bit, and so you see that median wall in the middle curve, but you can't see past it.
Yeah.
And I see that coming up, and I see a guy walking on the freeway, and he's wearing like all blue. It almost looks like a shop, like wearing a shop suit or something, like a mechanic or whatever.
Yeah, like a jumpsuit type of thing.
And like all blue. And I see him walking in the shoulder, but right where it bends. And I see him make that, like where he curves around that bend and he disappears. But I see him walking, and I said it out loud so the kids even heard me. I'm like, damn, that sucks for that guy, because it looks like, oh, his car must be broken down right at that curve, and he must have walked and got some gas or whatever.
Right.
Anyways, right as I drive past, and this happened within seconds of me seeing that, saying that, and turning that bend, there's no car
you're
there.
Probably going like 70 miles an hour.
Yeah, exactly. So it came up quick. There's no car there. There's no person there. There's no break in the median that somebody could walk through, or the wall was too high for somebody to jump and climb. And if they did try to jump and climb, I came up on it quick enough to where I would have seen them. Right. Nobody's there. I'm like, what the shit? And then again, soon after that, this is happening within like a week of each other. I'm seeing, I had just gotten back to our parents' house, and our parents were gone. You were doing something, and our parents had taken my daughter and my ex's son to like classic skating or something. And so they were on their way back home. You were going to be coming home too. And so I was only home there by myself for maybe half hour at most. While I'm there, I'm doing something in this one room where they have the TV now, and it's that room that was above my old bedroom. It was your bedroom for a while too. I was in that room, and I turned off the light, and I walked out in the hallway to go down the hall into the living room because I was going to do something else. But as I turned off the light and turned to go into the hallway, I see a shadow person in the living room look at me like I just startled him, and then he booked it down the side of the couch. Like he darted, like I freaked him out. I was like, what the shit was that? I was like, I know what the hell I just saw. That was a shadow person. So now I'm trying to reenact what I just did to see if I can make that same thing appear. To see if, was it my shadow? Did something happen to create a crazy shadow cast down that way? So now I'm trying to I'm sitting there forever trying to recreate that. And then I'm waiting for cars to drive by to light up the living room a certain way with their headlights on different directions, like it being on a corner, coming from different directions, just waiting for cars, watching the lights. I'm like, that was a shadow person. So that was at that point that I decided I'm gonna start investigating. I wanna find out why this shit's happening. I wanna see, why are they messing with me? Why is it that I'm experiencing this, and I want to capture it so other people can see what's happening, because I know I'm not the only one experiencing this. Now there's tons of shows, and they're capturing all sorts of evidence.
Yeah, again, now we're talking about, this is 2010-ish, and we were both living at our parents' house, and we would watch these paranormal shows together. We'd watch it on TV, and we would watch these paranormal shows, and we started talking like,
why aren't
we could do this?
Like,
we
I
could
have
buy
enough
this equipment.
experiences that I would like to capture it.
Right, and I've always was fascinated by the paranormal. I love the unsolved mysteries, and when they talk about the paranormal episodes, I love those episodes. I was always fascinated by them, and we just found out we both really love watching these shows, so we just got to the point where we thought we can buy this equipment. Let's buy this equipment. Let's start doing it, and that's how we got into the investigating part of it all.
And actually, soon after this happened too, I started dating my other ex, and we went on a trip to California, and we were walking through downtown Disney in the outdoor mall area, and this is the second time I was touched by a spirit. And this happened not at the house, this was outside the house, but this one freaked me out pretty good. This is another eye-opener that made me want to start going, okay, time to start investigating. So her and I are walking, and we're holding hands. I'm using my right hand to hold her hand. And so she's standing to my right. And so as we're walking, I felt like a hand kind of going up my shirt, from the bottom of my shirt coming up. And first thought is it's her. Second thought is she can't reach me with her other hand, because her other hand's on her other side of her body, and she'd have to have some kind of elastic arms to do this. So the process is I reach back and I turn around real fast. As I reach around and grab my back, I felt this hand or whatever it was going up my shirt pull away. And as it pulled away, it scratched my back. And I turned, the closest person to me was maybe 15 to 20 feet away, some lady walking behind me. And because I'm moving so fast, it caught her attention. She looks at me and I'm giving her this dirty glare, like, why you touching me, bitch? And so I kind of freaked her out, and I'm trying to process everything that's happening.
Sure.
And then I tell my ex, I'm like, okay, something just happened. I lift up my shirt and I'm like, is there a scratch on my back? And she's like, I could see there's two scratches going up, kind of from down, it looks like it kind of scratches upward or whatever. As it pulled away, I felt that. I was like, no fucking way. I was like, holy shit, I got scratches now. I was kind of freaking out. I was trying to rationalize how this happened. Right. There's no physical way this could have happened other than an unknown force trying to touch my butt.
Interesting. Well, that was our experience growing up in this house, right? We grew up in the same house, different experiences. For whatever reason, we don't know. Maybe Ghosty's more open to these items, or there's always the talk of ghosts. They are able to communicate more with maybe toddlers and animals, just because they are not closed off to these things yet. So it's interesting. It's interesting. We don't have the answers, but
yeah. Well, and then going through the shaman courses that I did with Sandra and everything, she said there's a lot of things that I can open up, that I should be able to open up once I put more practice and more time into it. I haven't been putting the time to actually open up more. It is kind of scary though.
Sure, I bet.
I'm not scared of things anymore like that. It's just more scary of the unknown things that I could see that I might not want to see. Right. Because it seems right now where I'm at, because I don't put a lot of time into trying to open up these gifts, it almost seems like I can have it turned off 99% of the time, and I have to try in order to open things up again. So it is kind of nice that way. Right. Because I know there's some people that just are picking up on things and they're feeling energies, and they're, I like not having that weight on me.
I don't blame you. I don't say I blame you. I don't know if I would want that type of abilities. I like mine as well. Mine are very mild, empathic type of feelings, and I'm good with that for the time being.
Yeah. So I don't know. Maybe when I get a little older and I have more time on my hands, maybe then I'll go full blown.
Who knows? Anyway, Ghosty, thanks for sharing. Thanks you guys for watching and listening again, and then stay tuned for next episode, Halloween Day, Scary Stories.
All right, y'all. Peace out. Ghosty, don't play that.
Peace out, butterflies.